Okay, so I went ahead and began this project before recording, and so far all I've done was to create the table for you. And we have our headers, we have a name, and we're just going to look up how to enter input. So in this one right here, we have to have an input for our name. So input type is a text, and just so you're clear, I've been using this just to show just to get an idea of how things work. So we can have a label. We already have the label for name, and we don't really need it. But right here, when we give it an ID, we give it a name, and we give it a type, and it's called a text, and we just close a tag, and there's no closing tag. So just as a reminder, in case you need it. So input type is text. If I run my code, there it is. And we can say ID equals name, so that we know, what's the ID of the text before. And right here for the sex, we need to enter radio buttons. So input type equals radio. We can do 2 of them. Break, and we'll do another one right here. We'll do an input type equals radio, and we can give it the name, so we know it belongs to name equals sex. Over here we can say name equals sex. Whoops. And close this. And what else do we have to do? We have to create a label for it. So label for I'm starting to wonder if I made an error for name. Oops, not for name. For I'm gonna have to relook this up. Always a good idea to look up radio buttons. Let's look it up right here. Whoops. Radio buttons, HTML. Always a good idea to look this up. Type equals radio, name equals gender, value equals female, or whatever it is. So yeah, let's take a look at that. Name equals sex, ID equals male. This one's for male. And over here I'll put the words male. If I run my code, male and female work in relation to each other. Let's add a label over here. Label for female. And over here we'll give it an ID equals female. And we have our label for female, and we'll just write female over here. Run my code, and we see that we haven't dealt with the CSS yet. We're just dealing with this select box. Okay, so once again, we can say W3 HTML forms select option. And how does that work? Oh, well, you have a select, and in the bottom you have an ID. So let's just copy and paste this for a second. just so we have the syntax. And it doesn't actually have a label. So iColor in our TD, we can write something like Control V. First of all, we don't have a label. Our label's already in the side there. And ID would be I color. And over here we'll have brown, blue, green, hazel, green, blue, brown. If we run our code, you see that we have our select box over here. Now, next we have checkboxes. Checkboxes, we can just add more than one. Check all that apply. So we can say checkboxes, HTML W3. We'll look that up. And right here, this is how it works. It's an input type checkbox. Give it a name and a value. And we don't really need the label. Control C. As you can see, the type has a different ID, the name has a different name, and the value is a different value. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that for check all that apply in this TD right here. We're going to put input type checkbox ID equals over 6, we'll call it. We'll call it over 6. And the value over 6 feet tall. Let's run our code. Okay, we obviously have to add a label to this as well. And let's just call this over 6. I was hoping I didn't have to do a label. So let's go back and grab the syntax, and that's the label for our checkbox, because checkboxes are small and you should be able to just click the label. So label for over 6, and what's it going to say? It's going to say over 6 feet tall, and we're going to break. If I run that, and when I click that, I don't have to click directly on the check mark to get it to work. And over here we have checkbox, and we say over 200. We'll call that over 200, and we'll call that value over 200. And this belongs to over 200, and we're going to call it over 200 pounds. When we run our code, you see that I have 2 checkboxes here. Okay, describe your athletic ability, and right beneath that, we're going to break, and we're going to have some kind of a text box. So let's look that up and see the syntax for that. Input text area, HTML W3, just to get that website, and that's a text area tab. And the way that works is it gives a full out text area over here, and that's exactly what we want. How many rows we want, we can specify right there. The number of columns, Control C, and we have to have a closing tag. We don't want any default value in the middle. Control C for that, and oops, delete that. We don't need anything there. Whoops, what happened? Oh, I didn't copy it properly, did I? Control C. We don't need anything in there. And let's format our code. there. Um, Next, what we want to do is we have our button, and that's pretty much it. I'll make another video for editing the CSS if you're interested in that. Otherwise, that's good enough for now.